Hi, I'm Nadine Mansour, and I will be reading Little Red Riding Hood. Once upon a time, there was a little girl who lived in a village near the forest. Whenever she went out, the little girl wore a red riding cloak, so everyone in the village called her Little Red Riding Hood. One morning, Little Red Riding Hood asked her mother if she could go visit her grandmother, as it had been a while since she'd seen each other. "That's a good idea," her mother said. So they packed a nice basket for Little Red Riding Hood to take to her grandmother. When the basket was ready, the little girl put on her red cloak and kissed her mother goodbye. "Remember to go straight to your grandmother's house," her mother cautioned. "Don't worry, Mom," said Little Red Riding Hood. "I'll be careful." But when the Little Red Riding Hood noticed some lovely flowers in the woods, she forgot her promise to her mother. She picked a few, watched the butterflies flip out about, and listened to the frogs croaking, and then picked on a few more. Little Red Riding Hood was enjoying the warm summer day so much that she didn't notice a dark shadow approaching out of the forest behind her. Suddenly, the wolf appeared beside her. "What are you doing here, little girl?" said the wolf. "I'm on my way to see my grandmother, who lives in the forest," said Little Red Riding Hood. Then she realized how late she was and quickly excused herself, rushing down the path to her grandmother's house. The wolf, in the meantime, took a shortcut. "Oh, thank goodness, dear. Come in, come in. I was worried sick that something had happened to you in the forest," said the grandmother. But the wolf let himself in. Poor Granny did not have time to say another word before the wolf gobbled her up. The wolf let out a satisfied burp and then poked through Granny's wardrobe to find a nightgown that he liked. He added a frilly sleeping cap and, for good measure, dabbed some of Granny's perfumes behind his pointy ears. A few minutes later, Little Red Riding Hood knocked on the door. The wolf jumped into the bed and pulled the covers over his nose. "Who is it?" he cried. "It's me, Little Red Riding Hood." "Oh, how lovely! Come in, my dear," croaked the wolf. "Grandmother, your voice sounds so odd. Is something the matter?" she asked. "Oh, I just have a touch of the cold," said the wolf. "But grandmother, what big ears you have," said Little Red Riding Hood. "The better to hear you with, my dear," replied the wolf. "But grandmother, what big eyes you have," said Little Red Riding Hood. "The better to see you with, my dear," replied the wolf. "But grandmother, what big teeth you have," said Little Red Riding Hood. "The better to eat you with, my dear," roared the wolf, and he leaped out of bed and began to chase the little girl. Almost too late, Little Red Riding Hood realized that the person in the bed was not her grandmother, but a hungry wolf. She ran across the room and through the door, shouting, "Help, wolf!" as loudly as she could. A woodsman who was chopping logs nearby heard her cry and ran towards the cottage as fast as he could. He grabbed the wolf and made him spit out the poor grandmother, who was a bit frazzled by the whole experience, but still in one piece. "Oh, Grandma, I was so scared," said Little Red Riding Hood. There, child, you've learned an important lesson. Thank goodness you shouted loud enough for this kind woodsman to hear you." Little Red Riding Hood and her grandmother had a nice lunch and a long chat. And now I will be reading the lyrics to Jack and Jill Went Up the Hill. Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Jack fell down and broke his crown, and Jill came tumbling after. Then Jack got up and said to Jill, as in his arms he took her, "Brush off that dirt, for you're not hurt. Let's fetch that pail of water." So Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch the pail of water, and took it home to Mother dear, who thanked her son and daughter. Thank you.